Dope. All right, welcome to another episode of The Path to You. We're joined by Jordan Stewart. We'll get to who he is, what he does, all that stuff in the question of Jordan, how did you get here to this point in your life?
Well, I got how much time you got?
Well, we've got 45 minutes now.
I think a lot of it, obviously, if you look back, is predominantly like playing soccer. Most of half my life was playing professionally. So, and obviously that's what brought me to America, was soccer. So I would say the biggest part of a lot of things in my life has got to do with soccer for sure.
Okay. When did you start playing?
That I can remember. I remember my dad used to be a manager of like a semi-professional team back home.
That's cool.
So I'd always go like every Sunday and like obviously just carry the balls and give everyone orange slices at halftime and things like that.
That's awesome.
Like kind of like a water boy over here. So that was kind of like my first going to games live, even though it was just in the park. And then my dad always used to watch it on TV, and he was an Aston Villa fan. So when I signed for Aston Villa, I think I was 10, we'd get 2 tickets to each home game. So like me and my dad would go to all the home games. And then from there, just kind of like just found a passion. And it was kind of the only thing to do in our spare time, really. It was just, we'd go down and literally play in the street. And then when cars would come, take the ball out, wait for the cars to go past it, and just start again. And became good, started to do well. I was at Aston Villa for 6 years. Obviously, during that time, just getting the passion for it more and going to see the games on the weekend obviously helped. My dad always took me to like training and always took me to the games to watch. And I was kind of lucky, whereas my parents was involved. Like they always took me to all these places where I've had friends before where they was better than me, but just their parents didn't kind of really care about it, so they just fell by the wayside, which is unfortunate. Yeah. So for me, I was lucky in the aspect where I had my mum and dad would come to like all the trainings and all the games, so that was a good thing. And then from there, just kind of was like, okay, now this is all I want to do, is to be a professional soccer player. And then teachers at school would be like, oh, so what do you want to do? I'd be like, oh, I just want to be a professional soccer player. And they would be like, well, yeah, but if that doesn't work, what's your plan B? And I was like, plan B? This is it. I'm going to be this is going to be a soccer player. And obviously back then they would be like, well, okay, then every young kid wants to be a soccer player, especially in England, right? Because unless you play cricket or rugby, which was at our school, you just play on the playground and just kick a ball around. So that was my passion. That's all I really cared about. I'd watch games on a weekend and just play outside. Apart from when I got grounded for being naughty.
Surprise.
Yeah. And my dad was one of them people where it weren't like grounded for 2 days. It was like grounded for a month. Wow. And he would stick to it as well. It would be like, okay, a month is gone now, you can go out. It wouldn't be like, 2 weeks, go out. It'd be like, you grind for a month unless you have to go to training and go to games on weekends.
Well, at least let you go to soccer.
Yeah, I know.
How funny. So that's a good question that I wasn't planning on asking, but how, you said your parents are really involved. Yeah. There's this concept of like helicopter parents now that almost live their dreams through their kids. Was that something like that for you, or was it more of just like you were passionate so they let you run with it?
Yeah, with me, I never felt like I was being pushed. My dad always used to tell me, like, if you're going to do something, then you have to give it your all. So I remember there was one game, I was probably about, 10, and it was in the winter and it was freezing cold. And like, I hate the cold, so my hands are numb, like my feet was freezing, I didn't want to play. And I was like, just standing there, I was like, I want to come off. And then I was walking toward the sideline and my dad said, no, you're staying on. So the things he kind of instilled in me was kind of like, just if you're going to do something, then you got to give it 100%. Like, you can't just say you want to do it and then halfway through say, I'm getting bored of it. So, but I always enjoyed it. I never felt like I got pushed or anything like that. It was kind of just, I had that passion and my parents kind of like rode the wave with me.
Awesome.
Which was obviously fortunate.
Yeah. Yeah. So then when did you decide to make the jump from Europe to MLS?
Well, during my early 20s, as soon as I turned 21, basically, I was going to Los Angeles for every summer vacation. So I'd be out there 2 to 3 weeks every summer. We'd only get 6 weeks off playing in England, which was kind of like, season normally ended middle of May, and then you'd report back for pre-season start of July. So, yeah, exactly, right? So you basically had 6 weeks to just do what you want. And obviously, there's people with families, so they went away. And at the time, I was like single, so me and my friends would just go to LA and just stay for like 2-3 weeks. So I kind of like fell in love with just the vibe. Obviously, it was always sunny. And just from there, like every year I used to go. So then when I think I was around about 28, in my head, I thought, I want to live in America for one. 2, I would love to, like, at some stage in my career, go and play it there. I've already wanted to play abroad. And I had the opportunity to go and play in Greece for a year. But then we stopped getting paid, so I left. And that was in 2010. So then I had an opportunity. I came out in 2012 when Frank Yallop was the head coach. And I knew Darren Huckabee used to play for the Quakes back in the day. And we was at a charity game and we was just talking. And he's like, what are you up to? And I was like, I ain't got a club at the minute. But I want to go and play in America. So he's like, okay, I'll give you Frank's number. Like, give him a shout and like see if he can sort something out. So a couple of days later, message him back saying like, come over if you want, just like pay for your flight and we'll sort out your accommodation to get a feel of it. So went over, like I was over there for 10 days. And then Frank was like, you got any plans when you get home? I was like, nah. He's like, well, we can stay for long if you want. So obviously I was like, yeah, summertime in California, playing, like just training, but taking it all in. And that year, obviously they won the Supporter Shield. But it was, for me, that was kind of like a good gauge because I got to play in a few reserve games when Mark Whitey was the assistant coach, so he would take all the reserve games. So me and him kind of got a bond as well. So when Frank left and then Whitey became the manager 2013, he reached out back to me to see if I wanted to come over. And I was like, yeah, perfect. So then it was kind of like a bit of luck because maybe if that didn't happen, then I might have not got my chance to maybe playing, especially for San Jose. So that was kind of how I got out there. And from there, I knew I was going to like stay out there till I retired, basically.
Which essentially you did, although you went to Phoenix after that, right?
Yeah, I left my last year for San Jose was in 2016. And it's funny because 2015 in August is when I ruptured my Achilles. So I think it was against Colorado. And from then I thought to myself, okay, this is it, I'm gonna have to retire. So then my contract was up at that year. So in my head I was like, well, there's no way they're gonna offer me a new contract. Right. So went in to see John Doyle. And he was like, listen, obviously I know you ain't going to be ready till probably like June, July next season, but like you're a great character, you're great around dressing room. We want you to stay on board, just obviously at a lower salary, which I didn't mind because it's business, right? So you're basically paying for half a season for me. But I was grateful because like I said, I thought I was going to be retiring and to have an opportunity to still stick around soccer, and in my head feel that it wasn't over. It wouldn't have been the right time for me to kind of like retire. So, and I always tell young players this: you can obviously on the field you can play your best and do those different things, but it's equally or maybe more important is what you do off the field, like how you are around people, manners, like just giving your all. And I felt like that especially over my 19 years has kind of like helped me out, whether it's through different managers, injuries, etc. I've still managed to get over the hurdle, whether, like I said, whether it was with a new manager or whatever. And then when I was at San Jose, obviously Derek, the physio, helped me along, and he was good because he'd give me, it was kind of like an 8-month period of like me being on the sidelines, and there'll be times I get frustrated, and he would like see that and kind of give me a weekend off, or have me go down to LA for a week to train there, just a different environment, right? Different scenery.
Yeah.
And I think that helped a lot. So like, and then especially with that, me and him kind of like got a good bond, and even today, like we speak a lot. So
nice.
There was a lot of things that went my way, and obviously a lot of help from different people, especially when I was at San Jose. And then from there, they offered me a new contract at the end of 2016, but we couldn't agree terms on the salary, which was with me and Chris Leach. So unfortunately, that's when I decided to leave. And even then, I thought I was going to retire again. And then Frank rang me up, who was now the GM down at Phoenix. And he's like, oh, like you should just come down for like, I think it was the Phoenix Open. So come down for like a couple of days. Sean Wright Phillips, who I knew already, was going to come down as well. So I was like, okay, well, I spoke to him. He said, I said, are you going to go down? He said, yes. So I said, okay, both go down. And I think we went down on a Thursday. So we're there with like the owners, like going out in Scottsdale. And then it was like literally 10 minutes before our flight was leaving on the Sunday, he spoke to us. He's like, oh, so you want to sign? So like, I said, you prepped it, so we've had a great time going out with all these people, seeing all the sites, and then you kind of like just put the little cherry on top. So well I was like, and at that time I was like, yeah, okay, cool, let's do it. So decided to play down there, and then 2017 is when I retired.
Nice. And when did did you just know that you wanted to retire then, or like what was the kind of breaking point or moment that you realized?
In my head, I thought that was going to be the last year, so I think that helped. And I was like, if they offer me a contract, I'll sign. But if not, no harm, no foul, because in my head, I was ready to leave the game at that stage.
Yeah.
So when they said, they basically was saying we want to have like younger players, like lower salaries and that kind of stuff, and which I was fine with. So from there, I was like, okay, let me know if there's anything you need. And then I bought a house in Arizona, and we're starting a family, so it was kind of like good timing for me as well. Yeah. I was going to be a daddy daycare.
Hence the 3:30 stop time. So you'd mentioned that it was important for you to build relationships with, whether it was GMs, people around you, just having like really good energy. Ever since I've known you, you are smiling at some point. You're laughing at some point. I think this is the most that I've laughed on a podcast with someone. What keeps that energy alive in you? Like, what keeps you smiling, or what keeps this kind of lightness about you?
I think I've kind of evolved it as I've got older, but I've always been like the jokey type. Always parents' evening. It was Jordan's good, but if he really focused on doing something rather than being class clown, it would be much better. So I've always kind of been like the joker, and I don't know. It's just as you get older, you just appreciate that. Like, just every day is like a good day. You know what I mean? There's so many, and don't get me wrong, people have depression and those type of things, but if you don't have that and you just feel like in a slump, that you can kind of like, when we was at Watford, we had a psychologist, and I used to go and see him just to have talks, just to kind of like get clarity on a few things, and he'd always say like, catch yourself. If you can catch that you're going down that road, or you have that motion, if you can catch it, then you know about it. So then if you know about it, you can change it. Yeah. So that was kind of like a thing that he was, Keith Mitchell was his name, that kind of like stuck with me. But I think it's just my personality. I love being around people, and just having a laugh and a joke. I don't try and offend anybody, and I can take it as well as give it. So for me, it's just, I don't know, it's part of my personality, I think.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't feel like you even need people to laugh, because I like your Instagram posts sometimes. You're by yourself and you're just having a ball.
Yeah, I think if there's a webcam or something, I mean, on a daily basis, people like, this guy's crazy. Just singing to myself and that.
That's awesome, though. That's so awesome. So what would you like if somebody were to ask you, like, what is some advice for someone that wants to change their behavior like that and they want to be more like laughing on their own? Like, what would you suggest to them?
It's difficult because I think unless it's kind of like deep inside, and I think you can change your mentality of like just being a more happier person. But some people kind of like when they go in the room, like everyone they just immediately like click with people. I've got friends that, like my best friend, for instance, like he's younger than me, but if I'm looking for advice, I would speak to him because in my head, I feel like his advice is better than me giving it myself. You know what I mean? So I don't think there's like one set way, but like I said, I think if you can kind of like catch yourself and just kind of sometimes just take a step back, and obviously life's hectic in the most of the times, and obviously now with the quarantine stuff, you can kind of, it's more downtime, right? So people are thinking more and kind of whether it's with jobs and that kind of stuff. So a lot of negativity can come in, but on the flip side, you know, if you got your loved ones and if you got a family, or just even just going out, just seeing, just feeling alive, right? For me, that's what just makes me happy. It sounds weird saying it, but just
being alive. I mean, it's a miracle in itself, right? Like the fact that you wake up on your own, like you don't have to think about waking up, you don't have to think about breathing, you don't have to think about your heart beating. Like it's a miracle in itself to just be alive.
Exactly. And I think soccer helped because like there was never one time through my whole soccer career where I've ever not wanted to go to training or never wanted to play in a game, which is, I don't know many jobs that happens too. And even if you do have some things that happen off the field, as soon as you start training or you start playing, like it goes straight away, you know what I mean? Which maybe it gives you time and perspective to kind of during training or during a game, that afterwards it's whatever you felt like or your thoughts were before, it can kind of like shift or alter. So I think that's why I think soccer, like, or sport in general, is like so good for that kind of thing, because there's so many dynamics, right? There's team bonding, like just, and in soccer, I don't know about any other like sports, but in soccer, like everyone's just like giving banter to each other. So it's just like that camaraderie and the feeling of everyone just trying to pull for the same goal, which is, like I said before, it's you probably have that in, I don't know, different business, but say corporation, you kind of like, in fact, it feels more tiered, right? Whereas in sport, it feels more whole, even though, you know, there is tiers within the organization.
Right. Yeah. I think it's that level of respect that everyone has for each other. It doesn't matter what part of the tier that they're on. Like everyone's working super hard to get, like you said, to the same goal.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is to win, right? And to be successful.
Mm-hmm. And I think, I was thinking about Kobe the other day, where it's not it is to win, but also it's like the journey to winning. So finding success along the way to that win.
Yeah, and it's never going to be just like a straight line like that. You know what I mean? It's like I said, through injuries or managers coming in. Like I remember I was at Derby County, signed like 2006 for a 3-year deal, and first year the coach that signed me got the sack. So then the new coach come in and wanted to bring in all his own players. So with a few of us, what he was doing, he would have us like coming in and training in the afternoons with like the kids, like the rookies. Match days, wasn't allowed anywhere near the dressing room. We'd have to wait in the stadium till one of the staff came in and basically said, you can leave. Sometimes it'd be like an hour after the game, we're just sitting in the players lounge, just waiting for someone to come in. And like, I'd always come in like just laughing, because I'm like, I know me coming in smiling every day hurts him more than me coming in like grumpy. So I would just be like, and I would just like super like, hey guys, what's happening? Like, and I knew in my head like it would pee him off. And like I said, I think I had probably about just over 2 years left on my contract. So I said, I got 2 years left. So unless we come to some agreement, I'm going to be here. Like, and I'm not going to be down and out. I'm going to be coming in with the same energy. So
yeah.
And then awesome. 3 months later, we sorted it out, and I moved to Sheffield United.
Fair. Only better for everyone.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Oh man. So I want to flip the switch a little bit and talk about where you are now. Like, what are you doing now? I know you're involved in a whole bunch of things. Like,
Yeah.
there's always something that's popping up of like, check this out.
Yeah.
So if you wouldn't mind talking about like what you're involved in now, and also like, how do you choose what to get involved with?
As I think as I was playing and I've done different investments, some have been successful, some have like failed and like lost a lot of money. But and it goes back to like meeting people, right? Sometimes I meet people and just probably just take it face value sometimes and think, okay, well, I believe in your products and believe in you. I'm going to put my money towards that. And sometimes it's got me burnt. But then other times, like my friend, Chris Brummage, he moved to Canada. He was my agent, moved to Canada, became real estate agent, started building properties in Canada and Vancouver, and asked me if I wanted to invest. And I invested and like done well from it. And now, obviously, stuff with Belize. So we basically build affordable housing, you could say, in Belize for people that want to go somewhere like tropical or have like a second home, maybe that for like a good value, basically, rather than going to, I don't know, some like Bahamas or somewhere where you got to pay a lot of money for real estate. And then I was working at Green Park Sports with my friend Nick Swinman, who's one of the founders there. He was the founder of Zappos, and he's also one of the owners at Warriors as well. And like me and him created a bond from my time at San Jose at the Earthquakes. He had a suite right by the halfway line, and through mutual friends met. And he was originally from England, so he loved soccer. So like me and him would like go back and forth because he was a Spurs fan and obviously I'm a Chelsea fan. So me and him would have like banter all the time. Nice. And just kind of created a relationship from there. And there was things that he got involved in and that he asked for advice or wanted to think maybe investing in a soccer team. And then when Green Park Sports came along, I'd retired, and my middle daughter, Sienna, I was basically like daddy daycare for a year. And then after a year, I was like, okay, now I've done that. It's time to get back on the horse and start working again. The bills ain't going to pay themselves, right?
The more kids you have.
Yeah. So went to work for them, which was they haven't launched yet. So basically, it's kind of like a mobile app to build fandom within rivalry, different kind of sports, whether it's like basketball, say for instance, like a Warriors versus the Bulls, and like pre-game, during the game, post-game, just things involved in a mobile app. And then obviously COVID hit, and my role was like brand development manager. So I wasn't gonna really play a big part until we launched, which we still haven't yet. So I got laid off probably about 2-3 weeks ago, and then Nick just offered me a job to work for him, like solely with these companies. So he's got a bunch of different concepts. One is Dozen Boxing, which is a gym, boxing gym, and because of COVID as well, he's trying to pivot into online subscription stuff. And another concept is super villains, which is basically kind of enhancing the villain, but in a way where it shows that you don't have to be that Superman, that like clean cut person to be successful, right? You can embrace the dark side, like even like Kobe, for instance. Everyone hate playing against him, but still loved him because of his passion and how he felt about basketball. Right. So Supervillains is kind of like going down that road of kind of showcasing villains, but in a good light. And then there's been other things where, like I said, it's not worked for whatever reason, whether it's like finances have run out. So it's kind of difficult for me to say, okay, I'm this business savvy guy, because I just feel like I'm just, some are good and some are bad, right? So maybe if if I was more reserved, it probably would have helped in some of the investments I made. But on the flip side, it's the way I see is, yeah, losing money is never good, and obviously when you make money, it helps, but it doesn't define me as a person. If that makes sense, because it's like anything, right? You can win some, you can lose some, you can be at a job and not like it, or you can be somewhere making less money but love it. So it's just it ultimately goes back to how you feel and the risk you're willing to take for it not to affect you. Yeah. And that's kind of like how I judge them, which probably in a smart way.
Yeah,
that's the Jordan way.
Yeah, I was gonna say, what have you learned from the ones that didn't work out? What were some of the key takeaways that you learned from those?
I think to brush through everything, to kind of speak to other people about it rather than just saying, okay, well, I think it's a good idea, so I'm going to do it. Maybe speak to 2 or 3 different people, whether it's your parents, whether it's your finance person, or somebody that you can kind of get a second opinion on, because then ultimately it's not just you saying this is going to work, because for the predominant time, especially with investment stuff, it's difficult. So yeah, definitely get advice from other people and people that know more than probably that you think that you know.
Yeah, there's always someone.
Yeah, exactly. Don't call me.
Can you talk about was it Harvard, the school that you went to, it seemed like specifically for athletes or professional athletes that wanted to further their knowledge on business? How did you get involved with that?
So Sam Cronin, I think it was 2018, I'd seen that he'd gone over to Harvard. And basically what it is it's called crossover into business. So you go to Harvard for 2 days, look around the campus, meet the different athletes or ex-athletes that are there. I think it's normally between 20 and 30 people from all different kind of sports, and it's specific to athletes or ex-athletes. And then you do a semester where you have 2 second-year MBA mentors that kind of like, you start doing case studies, and then at the end of the semester, you do like a live presentation in front of the professor, Anita, and 2 other second-year MBA students. So for me, I felt like, because I'd obviously finished playing soccer and I was transitioning into the real world, right? The business world, not living in a bubble. I thought I had the time, so I thought it just made sense for me to kind of like help gauge, because for me, I left school at 16, so I never had that college, never had a degree, so I've never known that kind of foundation of business or just college in general. So for me, it felt like a good time to go and to build that and to put it on my what's the word I'm looking for?
Resume.
It's kind of like what do you say?
Your resume.
Well, I bought a hoodie from there. So if anyone asks, I went to Harvard.
Nice.
When I'm walking around San Jose and I just got Harvard, and people are like, "Oh, yeah, busy school, smart." But yeah, I thought it would help kind of like when it comes to business, and like it's free. So it's a great opportunity, and obviously Anita, the professor that does it, she's been doing it, I think 4 or 5 years now.
Wow.
And I think at first it was athletes, but my friend Tim Cahill, he went in the summer, and he had like Sierra there and all that kind of stuff. So it's getting more popular. And for me, I did another workshop with Next Capital in San Jose, and that was to go around all different CEOs and founding companies in the Bay Area and kind of get their insight onto business. So I'm always trying to learn, because even though I always tell people, even though I played soccer for like 19 years, or some people think, athlete and these doors open. Yeah, they may open, but when they open, like, what are you gonna do? Like, you can't just walk in and be like, "Oh yeah, I play soccer." Like what?
Yeah.
Ain't gonna cut it. Ain't gonna cut it.
Yeah.
So I think as I transition even more, it's more beneficial for me to learn as much as I can in business and to kind of like soak it all in. And even working with Nick now, who's uber successful, then it helps me during my time to that transition.
Yeah. There are two questions that I want to stem from that. Did you always know that business was what you wanted to get into? Like being more, having towards the end of your career, what was it about business that was like, oh, that's where I want to go?
Yeah, because I never felt like I wanted to coach. I don't think I'm patient enough to be a coach, to be honest.
Fair.
And I don't think just because you play soccer doesn't mean you're going to be a good coach. You know, it's a separate skill in itself. You can gauge more of different things, but it's how you deal with 25 to 30 players is, for me, is super difficult, right? Being a player and then just kind of just dealing with myself and having banter and that kind of stuff, or having an argument with different players is one thing. But then when people have all these different emotions, different egos, and you're trying to balance all that and trying to win and have the pressure from up above, for me, it didn't feel like something I wanted to do. Whereas in business, you always can evolve, and there's so many like different avenues. I wanted to kind of like stay within the sport business world, and I felt like just with my connections and the people I know was kind of the easiest transition for me to do after I finished playing, to be honest.
Okay. So with that, do you feel like there is a why, or there's an impact that you want to make in the work that you're doing now? Like, why do you do what you do now?
For me, the biggest impact is kind of transitioning what I know in what I've done in soccer and bringing that into business. And what I mean by that is, okay, we all have our tasks in like business or whatever, but under that, you have to have some pride in what you're doing. You always have to be together in the same team, because unless you're self-employed, you're always going to be working with people. And most importantly, you have to make it fun. Like when I'm on Zoom calls and I'm still having banter, maybe not as much as I would when I'm playing soccer, because it's still the business world and I'm still learning myself. Like I didn't know about HR. I remember I was at Green Park Sports, and the HR woman, she's like, oh, so what have you known about like HR? And I was like, I've never had HR. I said, the only thing I know about HR is normally they fire people. That's it. So it's all new to me, but that's the kind of things that I want to transition into the business world, and like just hard work. Like it's nothing's easy. Obviously, if you win the lottery, then you make money that way, but things ain't going to be easy, and it's kind of overcoming them but still making it fun and make the environment that everyone wants to be around. Like maybe someday I want to be a CEO or have my own startup and employ people on my own. But for me, it's all this is like learning, and it's exciting because it's something brand new, something I don't know, and I'm starting from the ground up. Like just because I play soccer, I don't expect to come in at a certain level. It's something new, and I think that the employees and the people I've worked with appreciate that, because they don't think I'm better than them or bigger than them just because I played sport. Like for me, right, that's a whole different career. Like that's finished now. Like yeah. Now it's business, and obviously everyone has to make money and everyone has to make a living, but let's still do it in a fun way where you can work hard, but at the same token, like enjoy what you're doing. And that's always going to be my philosophy in whatever I do. Is like, yeah, you're gonna have to grind. Sometimes it's gonna be hard, but ultimately, if you don't like what you're doing, you need to stop.
Stop doing it. Yeah,
you need to stop. That's it.
It's that simple.
It's that simple. That's it. Like stop.
Is that it? Yeah. Oh man. Oh, life is just so simple. I feel like it is so simple, and we're the ones that make it so hard.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong. Some people like are in certain situations where they have to do that for a certain time, or just okay, for 5 years or 10 years, I'm going to grind at doing this. So after that, then maybe I can start doing what I want, and which is fine. But it's still best to have a goal than just every day saying, okay, I'm getting a salary. Right?
Yeah, and this is the rest of my
yeah,
life.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, for me, like, that's not life.
Right.
Like, you're not living. You're just basically saying, okay, I'm gonna go to work, come back, and do whatever, and just keep doing that. But you're not stimulating your mind in a way where you can kind of evolve. And that's what life's all about, right? You want to evolve, you want to learn new things, you want to take things on. Sometimes it's daunting, yeah. Don't get me wrong. And maybe because I'm a positive person that I think it's easier. But it's whatever steps you need to take, you can take them. And there's opportunity. Like, America's a great country for opportunity. So, and that's what I found being here the 7 years I have. Like, if you want to work hard, you can evolve.
Mm-hmm.
You know? So for me, that's kind of like how I've like grabbed the bull by the horns and kind of like just rode it and kind of just see where it ends.
I think wherever it ends, it's going to be a joyous, big smile.
The bull ain't going to get me, put it that way.
Yeah. Especially if you have to by the balls. What was my question going to be from there? I have two. The first one is for the people or the athletes that are either towards the end of their career or either even the younger athletes that aren't even thinking about the end of their career yet. What would be your advice for them?
Well, I think a great example is someone like Tommy Thompson. That's kind of just he's probably in the middle of his career now, but he's still young at a young age, right? Because he started so young. But he's learned Spanish, learned another language, and he's evolving while still not playing soccer. He's still doing stuff to be relevant, right? And if you are an athlete, it's going to be the easiest way to open doors for the right reasons, for the wrong reasons. But that's just the way it works in sport, right? So for me, he's a good example where he's using his platform to do like his coaching and different things like business wise. So if you're someone you're at a young age, I would say look at someone like Tommy Thompson. And if you're transitioning to a different career, or maybe in 2-3 years, you have to kind of decide what you want, because what you don't want to happen is you want to retire or through injury have to retire, and then all of a sudden it's like, I don't know what to do, because then that leads to like depression, over drinking, taking drugs. And I've seen players in England that have gone down that road, which is unfortunate, but just they didn't have a plan during the time when they was coming towards the end of career. They just thought, well, I got another year, I got another couple of years to kind of decide what to do. And then all of a sudden you don't get another contract, or you get injured, and then reality strikes that, well, I ain't getting no more paychecks. So I might have to dip into my savings, and that's only going to last a certain amount of time. So, and then what, right? You've probably got family, or even if it's just yourself, you still have to kind of have a plan of, okay, I've got maybe 2 years left, but what if something happened right now? What would I do? And you kind of have to go through that process. And then the flip side of that is, I don't think in sport organizations help that transition either. Like it's kind of like NFL is kind of the biggest one, right? The turnaround is so, I think it's 2-3 years you're in the league. Mm-hmm. Within that time, it's what you have to, even before you start playing NFL, you have to decide, okay, well, if I get cut, what do I do? Yeah. And the problem is, I kind of like see both sides, but I feel like in America, where these athletes, they've always been told they're good, right? High school, college, and then obviously they make it to whatever sport. So they've always kind of be a bit more lax. So they've like, well, I'm the man, so it doesn't matter. I'm gonna be fine. And then when it doesn't happen, and then that's when the world comes crashing down, right? Whereas is in England, they kind of give you a bit more time to learn your trade. It's not kind of like as cutthroat as maybe some sports in America. But for me, it's you have to have a plan, man. You have to speak to people. You have to decide what you have a passion for. You have to take, for instance, Jay DeMary. Like, I've known him. He came over to England with no money, started playing, and then when he retired, doing his rise and shine stuff like camps, and kind of he went through the same process of like speaking to different people along the way that could help him push what he wanted to do after he retired. So I think in sport, within the organizations, there should be more help of the transition, but also you have to use the organization and the sport itself to help propel you to what you want to do in later life, because it's going to be the easiest way for you to kind of put on paper what the plan is.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
For sure. You have to best utilize your time and not think that everything's going to continue to be handed to you.
And then when it don't, the phones ain't going to be ringing. No one ain't ringing your phone. No one's going to be like, oh, how you doing, Jordan? Like, yeah, like, how's life? Distant memory.
Have you seen, I just watched it yesterday, Coco, the Disney movie?
Yeah.
When they're
my
forgotten.
eldest daughter, she watches it all the time. So I know back to front.
Yeah. So I think about when somebody doesn't put your picture on the ofrenda and you're the forgotten, and then they're gone.
You're gone. You're in the leaves.
Yeah, you rejoin consciousness.
Yeah.
Oh man, but that's kind of like what it's like if you. I think specifically with the NFL, you play your 3 years. Oh, you're no longer good to us. Peace. Good luck, and then you're the forgotten.
And what do you do, right?
Yeah.
Because probably the degree that they've got is sometimes it might help. Sometimes it don't. Sometimes you can help try and get your name into things where if you've been out for maybe a short amount of time, but after the iron goes cold, can't strike no more. So it's kind of it's difficult, and I think there should be more things in place that help that transition, because it happens too many times.
Mm-hmm.
You know, whether it's financial help or stuff where that people can go back to school, or even workshops in the off season where they can do something that can help go into these corporations or different businesses, because a lot of these businesses, they like athletes because of what the foundation what I was talking about earlier, of like hard work, team ethic, wanting to win. So I think if there's some more things in place like that, it helps both sides. Yeah. It helps the transition of an athlete, also helps the company grow and become better winners.
For sure. Do you think that there is some resistance though from some of those athletes of like, nah, I've got like plenty more years. What do I need to do this now? Or why don't I think about my future?
Yeah, it's pride. It's when the pride and egos kicked in, like, they just some people are hard-headed, and I spoke to young people, and I was probably maybe a bit hard-headed when I was younger myself, because when I was at Leicester, a lot of the players I was 17, 18, and a lot of the players were like in their 30s. So a lot of the things that they told me, I took in, but even me, sometimes I'll be like, you're just old, man. Like, you just don't know what you're talking about. But then as you get older, you think, the guy was telling the truth. So I think sometimes it's to do with maturity. And then sometimes just people don't listen. But you kind of, I think in team sport, you see that very quickly in individual. It's obviously more difficult in individual sports, but I think in a team sport, you kind of, you gauge that more early than the red flags rather. And then after a while, you're like, I can't even bother talking to this person no more.
Yeah. Fair.
Which is, it sucks, but how many times are you going to tell someone, right?
Yeah.
And you can lead the horse to water.
Can't make them drink.
Can't.
No, even if you stick their head in it, they gotta be the one to inhale.
Exactly.
All right, one last question. Leave on a high note. What are you most grateful for right now?
My family, my kids, my beautiful fiance, my family that helped me from a young age kind of like evolve to the person I am today. My 2 older sisters that beat me up when I was a youngster, but also gave me the value about how to treat women, and just life in general. Just the blessing of being able to have the opportunity to kind of like see so much of the world playing a sport I love, right? Not many people get that opportunity, and for me to have that and kind of embrace and kind of like tell my story and kind of help others, which is ultimately what you want to do, right? You want to gain all this information and kind of help guide younger people, older people along the way. And like, I'm never too old to learn, and I'll never not take advice from anybody. So just, yeah, I'm grateful for the career that I had, and I'm more grateful for the opportunities that I'm going to be getting along the way after. That's probably what I'm buzzing about the most at the minute is phase 2.
Phase 2 on so many levels. Phase 2 of life, phase 2 of the pandemic, phase 2 of, oh man.
The phases never stop.
No, it doesn't. Oh, how funny. This pandemic and its metaphor with life.
Yeah, I know. But it's a big test, right? Because some people, like I said, have used it to their advantage, where they can kind of help do different things, or some people are like they're getting more depressed because every day feels like Groundhog Day. And
yeah,
even in business, like from me going to like Green Park Sports to then with the COVID stuff happening and then having to transition into something else, it just shows you that like it's just business and life is so vulnerable anyway. So you kind of just have to just ride the wave.
Yeah.
And as long as you can ride the wave, you're fine.
Yeah. I think this is also, like you were saying, it could be Groundhog Day for some people, and people can be in a state of depression, but it could also force them to reach their rock bottom to then make change.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Ways, it's a blessing.
Blessing in disguise.
Mm-hmm. Everywhere. Oh, Jordan, it's always a pleasure to talk to you.
Always.
But
like I said, you've got the same kind of fire and the same kind of positivity that I have as well. So, and even when you feel like maybe not as positive as you want to feel, you can express it and help other people, which is kind of a gift in itself, right? Some people hold it in internally, but when you can kind of go through that struggle and kind of let it out and kind of like show different sides that many people kind of like shield up, is a huge gift for me, which is obviously when I'm always looking at your stories and when you're talking and that kind of stuff, it just refuels me of how I think.
Thank you. I'm gonna start crying.
Don't cry.
It's good crying. It's good tears. Yeah. I mean, that's my whole goal.
To get dehydrated.
Oh shit. Okay. Thank you. I gotta refocus now. Oh, got me all in my feels. Yeah. I mean, thank you. I'm gonna stop the video, but I'm gonna keep talking to you after because I think we got like 4 more minutes. So
cool. Yeah.
Stop recording.